Okay, so we are in the Lockheed Constellation in the Microsoft Flight Simulator this evening, and we're going to head northeast out of Kolkata. I'll just show you on the map where we are. We need to... I don't think I've got a representative performance profile actually, so we might have to go for the Douglas DC-6 because it's the kind of the most similar in terms of vintage and performance probably to a Lockheed Constellation. So it's going to take about 4 hours, so it's going to be 1 in the morning, isn't it, by the time we finish? But we'll see how we get on. We might not go all the way into China tonight. We might get as far as the top of Myanmar, but we'll see how we go. So we're leaving Kolkata and heading northeast through Bangladesh, and then east out back across India again, then Myanmar, and then off into China, and hopefully end up at Chengdu. So we'll see how we get on. We're going to be climbing out to 15,000 feet and cruising most of the way at 15,000 feet. So yeah, it should be fun. As you can see, the weather in Kolkata is not ideal, but we're not going to be around here for long. So let's go and see what we can do. But in case anybody does want to join in along the way, I'll put the aircraft data on. So let's go back and resume, and we can also say we are on the Southeast Asia servers. So I'm leaving live weather on, but I've moved the time to 7 in the morning, otherwise this would be a night flight, so we wouldn't get to see anything at all. Okay, so time to work our way around the aeroplane and see if we can remember how to start up the Constellation. First things first, we need to go and set the throttles up appropriately. So I think I've got this, so the DC-6 controls would work well. If not, I've got a 4-engine setup, but we'll see how we get on. Just looking for the DC-6. It's in here somewhere. There it was. Apply, go back, resume. Does that give us engines? Yes, it does. And does it go to full throw? That's interesting. In that final 20%, it suddenly picks up, so that's not good. I wonder where that is. So we'll go back in and go and see if I can find out my 4-engine setup. There's obviously something odd in there for the DC-6. Right, there's a 4-engine. Apply, go back, resume.
Reverse.
That is really odd. So I had some strangeness with the simulator earlier. Let's go and just check what this is doing. I wonder if it's reset all the curves. No. But it would appear how very odd. Because if you watch that curve, it's got most... So if I put the locks in,
reverse.
That's correct. Then we've got almost no throw to 50%, almost no throw to 75%, and all of the rest of the throw. Oh my word. There's no calibration options in here, are there? I think the simulator's just got it in for me today. Let me just check what the throws are. Unless I've actually gone and made a Super Constellation sensitivity, and I can't remember doing it. So this is the usual throw where you get minus 50% on the neutral to give you the brakes. How odd.
Reverse.
I wonder why it's doing that. It's like it's got 70 or 80% of the throw in the last inch of the throttle movement.
Reverse.
Right, I'm going to go back out to the main menu and come back. I think the airplane's loaded wrong. I'm going to go and load a different livery and see if it makes any difference to it, because that was seriously wrong. I don't know why the simulator has been throwing curveballs at me all day. So we'll put ourselves on the ground here at Kolkata, and we'll go and get... Now, what was the one I used the other day? It must have been this one. Or was it AOA? It may have been AOA actually. Let's try this one instead. See if it makes any difference to it. It's Friday the 13th. Yeah, it's as good a reason as any. What I might try doing is pulling the throttle and plugging it back in again. It's just very... I've seen so many odd things today with the sim. I had to revert... I did an NVIDIA upgrade and it changed the rendering to DirectX 12 without asking me. A few months ago, I loaded the simulator and it forgot half of my control profiles. They were just gone. So God knows what they've been doing to it recently. Of course, this is going to load up with it very dark, isn't it? And I'll have to change the time again. So let's try that again. And it's put me on the runway with the engine running after I chose the taxiway.
60% set.
Which is a well-known bug with Flight Simulator. I'm just going to let it go. Let's just at least change the weather. And put it on 7 in the morning. Okay, parking brake is working. But the... this just gets better. It's working now.
Reverse.
I think we'll just have to put up with it. And I'll see if we can just cajole it into not blowing its engines to pieces. And now it's decided if I look directly ahead, it's going to murder the frame rate. So we've got it on normal, we've got it on... It's running on the runway, so we're going to want the flight engineer to help us, because we've decided while doing the documentation the other week that this airplane is unflyable single-handed because it kills its engines. We're not going to use GPS, we're just going to use radio navigation. Just calibrated the altimeter, which was miles out. It was like 500 feet out. Let me turn the head tracking off, it's being a real pain. Hydraulics full, fire extinguisher full, alcohol's full, oil's full. We are going to select international flight though for the fuel levels, so we can go further. Instant payload, please. Airplane's already up and running, so we don't need ground power. So, let's have a look. It's a strange looking thing, isn't it? Status of the aircraft is looking okay. Okay, flaps are set for takeoff. I'm just going to go and check my own notes about what to do for takeoff. Landing lights, lamps are on and extended. Yeah, they're electric motors, aren't they? So mags are on, obviously, because the engines are running. Okay, let's get this show on the road, shall we? Rather than mess around. Okay, speed is coming up slowly. We're going to be departing on instruments, aren't we?
Rotation.
It would be good if the attitude indicator actually worked. It kind of works. So I'm going to continue on north for a moment until I know what's going on.
Roger, flaps up.
Let's just get some speed.
Flaps up.
Okay, it's stabilizing. Trying to trim it and stop it from corkscrewing around in the air. It's slowly turning left, but that's fine. So we're climbing at about 1,000 feet a minute. And it will not have it. It won't sit still in the air at all. And it's just trying to pitch up continually. Okay, so we've been travelling fairly well north, so we want to be turning to 50 degrees, or 11300 on nav1, but 50 degrees for the moment, until we get out of the cloud. So I'm just flying this on these instruments at the moment, and watching the compass, until we get sufficient time to be able to go and sort out the nav instrument and then tune in the OBS, and then we'll be happy. So it's coming through to 40 degrees slowly. And 50 degrees, so we can see that on the map. Look, we're doing that turn out towards JSR. Well, we probably should have enough time actually, so let's turn head tracking off for a moment. So this is the VHF, this is the nav radios, so this is nav 1. We want 11300. That's VHF. What am I doing? That's nav 1, then that's nav 2, and it's in such a place that you can't actually see the numbers on it, which is really useful. It's on as well, which is helpful, and it's come alive, so if we turn this round to about 60 degrees it should centre the needle up, and there it goes. So we need to stop turning left, stop turning right, sorry, and turn left. About to come out of the cloud, I think, which would be useful. So let's go and turn the autopilot on. Put this onto localizer tracking and see what it does. See, because we spawned on the runway, I don't know if this has been... Oh, we have to pull the... Now, do we push that in or pull it? We have to push it in, don't we, for it to engage? But was it ever... No, it's been flicked down. Down is on, isn't it? Up is caged would be off. So it's doing, yeah, it's tracking the VOR. We just need to get the altitude under... Okay, so this has to be on. It's the other way around to the DC6. Yeah, there we go. And we're coming out of the cloud. So we need to pull this back to about 30, I think. And we're going to go and double check what this supposedly intelligent engineer is doing. So RPM is off the scale. I thought he was supposed to be helping us. Maybe we have to tell him about the phase of flight we want. We want cruise, please. Or climb power.
Climb power. Roger.
Is he actually going to do his job now? So he's taken over the throttles. We don't have to worry about them. We just need to navigate. That makes life easier. So we need to get to 15,000 feet. We're just coming up through 5.5. So we can go for a bit steeper climb angle. We're doing nearly 200 knots. So just watching the vertical speed there. Okay, so even if you have the automated engineer on, you have to tell him what phase of flight you want in order to, you know, configure the aeroplane appropriately. Do we get DME working? Yes, we do. It's got this kind of weird digital DME that wouldn't exist. 31 miles to run until the first beacon. And then we're on to the second one, and so on and so forth. Rumbling across the map. So 27. He's having fun with the throttle, isn't he? He's doing it over there, look. I shouldn't. I guess once he's got the aeroplane configured, we could actually dispense with his services, couldn't we? Because the major limiting factor with the engineer on this aeroplane, or with the user interface actually, this is interesting. So what's that supposed to be showing? I've never noticed that before. Yeah, what he's the advantage that the simulator has over you is you can only operate these switches one at a time yourself, which obviously opens and closes the cowl flaps and the oil cooler flaps to maintain engine temperature. But you can only manage one at a time. The automated engineer can do what you would do in the real world, which is hold your hand flat and lift all four at once, or push all four down at once, or even 8 of them at once. You know, you could do all of the RPMs as well the same way, but you can't do that in the sim, not even if you map buttons, which is why you end up using the automated flight engineer, which is an option here. So you select flight engineer or flight engine management, and it means that the simulator will help you along with it. So then obviously you come into orders and you tell it what phase of flight you want, and it configures the engines appropriately. So we're still climbing about 750 feet a minute. I wonder, I guess he will kick in superchargers as well. Let's have a look. So this was the version with the APU. It's interesting he hasn't switched the APU off. I wonder why. Because I would have. As soon as I got the engines up and running. Because if you leave the APU... That's... Oh no, it's the generator, sorry. So the rest of it's off. But he's left the generator for the APU on. Why? Because there's the start switch for the generator and the stop switch. The danger with the APU in the Super Constellation is if it runs for more than 5 minutes, it goes on fire. And if you don't get the fire out, it takes the aeroplane with it. And that's simulated. So you end up with smoke belching out of the aeroplane on the ground. And alarms going off all over the place. Do you know, as long as we... It's interesting, he's really pushing the propellers, isn't he? Up against the red line. And he's dancing on the levers as well. Shall we tell him not to help us for a minute, and we'll put him back in charge in a moment? So we just let the aeroplane settle down.
Are bringing the superchargers in.
Okay, so maybe we do need him.
Are in.
Okay, so they put the superchargers on. Obviously it's because the air is getting thinner as we climb into higher altitude. So at lower altitudes, I don't know if you've ever learnt about this, in the thicker air you are limited on your throttle, aren't you, by how much power you can put down, because the thick air obviously burns very well. So you have to be careful, you know, you can exceed manifold pressure very easily, and we are at the moment. Oh my word, look what's happening. That's better. So you can exceed manifold pressure very easily at lower altitudes. As you climb to higher altitude, you run out of the amount of air that you can use to combust, because the air gets thinner and thinner. So then you have a supercharger which compresses the air on the way in and allows you to compress the air that you're combusting. So do we put him back in charge then, seeing as we're going to need to be careful about this? So we'll say we still want climb power. Is he going to start dancing on the controls again? Apparently not now. So we are 6 miles out from the VOR, so let's see what's the range on the next one. Show information for the Dakar, is that? In Bangladesh? I'm guessing it's Dakar. 130 miles. Okay, we can use that for ages then. 11270. So what we'll do is put this back onto gyropilot for a moment. 11270. So then we will say we want to go straight towards it, please, and then we'll go and switch this back to localizer mode. Now, what are these levers doing? Let's have a try and remind ourselves. Push autopilot is on, okay. Autopilot is on and the altitude mode is on, so we're still climbing up to 12,000 feet nearly. And we're still in the thick cloud. Look at the rain pelting down there. Why hasn't this turned us? I guess they've got a crosswind going on, which is why it's holding us at an angle. It's a good point actually though. We've where are we? Control 8. Oh, I forgot the views in it that have been configured out of the factory are rubbish. Nav lights are on, position lights are on. We want the here we go. Lamps off. it's got the oil cooling flaps wide open though. He hasn't made any noises, has he, and he hasn't adjusted the throttles since we put him back in charge. Shall we just toggle this?
Cruise power, please. Roger. Climb power. Cruise power. Roger.
I've asked him to go back to climb power. So is he going to do anything with the throttles? I'm not sure that I trust him, you know. Let's go and look at the temperatures. Pressures are good. Manifold pressures are good. RPM is still off the scale. Temperatures are okay. How are we doing for... That's some pretty severe weather, isn't it? So this tells us whether the engines are synchronized or not. And apparently they're not. I don't know if it has any automatic synchronization, but that's obviously what he was playing around with earlier. The throttles aren't moving around so much now, are they? Are we just coming up? We're coming up to 15,000 feet. The reason I was saying about getting to 15,000 feet is if you look at the plot, later on in the flight we'll need to be at 15,000 at least. So we could probably level out at this point. So let's do that. So altitude control, and that will level the plane back out, and then we can say set cruise power.
Cruise power, please.
And he's pulling the throttles back. And what's he doing to... Okay, he's closed the oil cooler flaps down. But not in an even manner, which is odd. Has he done anything with the cylinder... cowl flaps, sorry. He's slowly closed that one a bit more than the others. So if we go back and have a look. Sync signal, slave gyro, free gyro. So we're still on track for the VOR. We're 60 miles from it. So it's going to be a while. Heading towards deck 11270. Be nice if we came out of this weather soon, wouldn't it? I had a look on Navigraph before we set out. Let me just close this window. Yeah, we're leaving the worst of it anytime soon. So, although saying that, we want this at 15. Yeah, look. If we were to descend a little bit, which we could at the moment, we might be in a bit better position. I think we just put up with it until we get through, and then the majority of the route after that should be fairly clear. That rain's getting a bit tiresome, isn't it? So we can tell people that they can get up and have a wander about now if they want. So if this is using Nav1, I presume we just get needles for Nav2. So what's the range on the one over here? $130 miles. So if we draw some of these in, so we can get that one already. This was 130 as well, wasn't it? So this one over here is 130 again. Do you know what? I'm inclined to take this up above this cloud. Should we try it? So 1,000 feet a minute. Coming up to 15,000. I wonder how high the cloud goes. Let's have a look. It's going to be about 30,000 feet, isn't it? Oh, maybe there isn't such a huge benefit then. Yeah, 15,000 to 16,000 seems to be the sweet spot to see anything. So we'll level back out at 15,300. Although looking at this, there's nothing up there, is there? So I think Navigraph might be lying to... Oh, maybe it's showing the thin cloud at much higher altitudes. Yeah, so let's go for it. Let's go another 5,000 feet. So we'll need this guy to go and put the aeroplane back into climb mode.
Roger.
Otherwise we'll slow down. So he'll open the cowl flaps back up, I imagine. Let's go and see what he's done. He hasn't opened the cowl flaps much, or the oil cooler flaps much. I'm struggling to see what he's doing. I guess he's just looking after manifold pressure and torque, isn't he? This is how we find these things out. We try them out and we watch in the simulator. Yeah, he is manipulating the throttles now and again. So he's not doing nothing. Whoa, look at the vertical speed go crazy. We must be hitting some turbulence. Oh yes, we are in a rainstorm. So it might be an idea to go and extend those lights again. Ah, we're coming out above a level of cloud. So what altitude are we at? Coming up for 17,500 feet. So if we level out at 18 maybe. We're out of the worst of it, aren't we? I mean, there are various cloud bursts still around. That's pretty wicked over there, isn't it? Oh my word. So, just coming up to 18,000 feet now, so we'll go and put altitude control to level us out, and we'll tell him to go back to cruise power.
Cruise power, please. Roger. Cruise power.
Certainly picked the day to do this, didn't I? So someone's asking, is there a bug? So let me see. So I have to go to the drone camera and the plane moving towards it. So I'd have to move it out in front of the aeroplane. Okay. Yeah, that's bugged. Sounds like an angry bee. It's interesting weather today, isn't it? I wonder if it is worth going up another 5,000 feet then. Let's try it. Whoops. The click spots are not very good in this. So we want climb power again, please, Mr. Engineer.
Roger.
Roger. So let's give it another few thousand feet. I'm not sure what the ceiling is. So let's have a look. Super Constellation ceiling. 25,000 feet. So we need to be mindful of that, because we're just going up for 19,000. $18 miles out from the VOR. Let's see if we can see down through the cloud anywhere. Oh no, I tell a lie, you can see some hills over there. How are we doing on altitude? Coming up for 20,000 feet. I don't think we're going to get higher than that cloud, you know. I think this is the best we're going to do. So I'm going to level the plane out and go back to cruise again.
Cruise power, please. Roger. Cruise power.
I have not tried the failures yet in the Connie, but I have no doubt that it will do some very nice fires. If people haven't seen it, when we change this to night time, if I wind it backwards, yeah, you get the flames from the exhausts. Let's have a look at our chart then. So we're just coming up on the VOR, so we want to go and switch our heading to 85 degrees out of DAC towards the Agatala VOR. So we're just coming in towards it now. So, get the Omni bearing selector. At the moment we're on about 65 degrees, we want 85 degrees instead. 70, 85. So what it will do is steer left. Yep. So what it's doing is trying to get onto the radial here. Yeah. So the aeroplane's trying to get to 85 degrees on the way in because we've done it early. Yeah, so there is method to its madness. And now it's turning in, look. So it's turning back towards the 85 degree radial. So then as we come out the other end, it'll be going the right direction. So once it stabilizes, we'll switch over to 11610. But what we can do is just turn this onto gyro pilot mode so it will fly straight and level. But we'll wait for it to stabilize first. Although, saying that, we could go over the beacon, look, so it might be an idea to do that now. So just let it go to wing leveling. And then go and change the frequency on the radio. So nav 1, and we want it to be on 11610. Otherwise it would have started trying to hunt the VOR, which would have been bad because it was, you know, it was, as you get closer it gets more unpredictable. So there's the next one, like 45 miles to run, and we go back to localizer mode and it will track the beam now. So we just leave the aeroplane to do that for a while. So Alexander says yes. You're saying I went to gyro pilot on purpose? Yes, I did. I was on localizer mode, but we were almost on top of the VOR beacon. Yeah, the VOR station, sorry.
Caution,
So-
contact icing.
So is the engineer going to look after icing, or is that a job for the co-pilot? So we'll let the co-pilot do stuff. So yeah, so when you're almost on top of the VOR, the needle is going to flail around. The autopilot is slow to react, so therefore it would have almost, it would have tried to, could have done anything, could have done a 90-degree turn over the top of the VOR trying to chase the needle, or fly around the VOR trying to get the needle in the middle. So you're better off going to gyro pilot mode, which just makes it do wing leveling, and then you've got the steering control here. And then once you're out the other side of the VOR, or you've got another one to tune to further away, you can get the aeroplane going the right direction and make it lock the beam again. It's just that while you're over the top of the VOR station, there's no point trying to use it. So we've got 37 miles to run. Yeah, so what we did was, while we were right there in that small area, we went to the gyro pilot. So let's see where the icing controls are then, to see what we can do if the engineer hasn't done it for us. It's down here, isn't it? I think. Carburetor anti-ice is not on. But then that might not be needed. What other icing controls do we get? What about pitot heating? Oil dilution. Cooler flaps. Carburetor air. See, in an ideal world, the engineer would be doing this for us. Pitot heaters, here we go. So he hasn't turned them on. Idiot. We can see on the clipboard, can't we, the state of the aeroplane. It's interesting, isn't it? You put all these help on, they don't actually do anything, so you end up having to check round behind everybody all the time, see what they've actually done. Status. So it's fine. Aeroplane's absolutely fine. It would light up with colours, apparently. Lots of people on board. Should go and have a wander down the cabin and have a look at them. Go be nosy. I think we can walk through the wall. Yeah. So. Oh, or maybe we can't. It's got clipping. That's really clever of it, isn't it? So, oh, is that because I made myself too tall? No, I've now got stuck with the camera. Great. So what we'll do instead then, it will slow down the drone camera. I haven't got the Xbox controller plugged in at the moment, if you're wondering why I'm doing this. It's great that they've put lots of different people in, isn't it? There's quite a lot of repeats though. That's interesting. That door just moved as we got close to it. Interesting. So they haven't got an internal cockpit model. You have to go to the proper view to see it. That's a shame, isn't it, when things are missed like that in the simulator. So yes, we should have. There's some synchronization options somewhere around here. Let's go and have a look. Push to sync. Will it do anything about it? Depends how well simulated it is, doesn't it? Although the automated flight engineer should be doing this himself, but it's difficult to know what he is doing and what he isn't. So let's have a look. 15 miles to run to the next VOR. And then we're going to depart it on a course of 93 degrees. And it's another 130 mile radius VOR. So 11420. Do we get to choose? We don't get to choose which VOR this tracks, do we? Or I certainly haven't seen a control for it. No. So what we can do is just switch this over to gyropilot. So it's just going to keep the wings level for the moment. And we'll switch frequencies to 11420. So then we want to be flying 93 degrees into it, so I'm just going to correct the compasses. 93 degrees, so that's probably about there. So we're off to the left, which is correct. So we could. That's interesting that it's showing that in the way it is. I would have thought that would have shown to be to the left. And it would be sweeping in towards us right now, but it's not doing that, which is really, really odd. It's showing 82 miles, obviously. But if we want to go straight towards it, I suppose it's saying 95 degrees, not 93, but it's close enough. So then we can go straight back to localizer mode and the aeroplane will turn right. It was just interesting that it wasn't doing what I thought it would be doing. I always thought it would have shown the needle the other side on the configuration we had. But we can make the best of it. So 80 miles to run to the next beacon. So what's the range on this one? Show information for the Imphal beacon, 125 miles. So let's go and add those on. What about this one? Show information for the VOR. That's 130 miles again. The only reason I'm drawing this in is so we can see where the overlaps are, so we know when we can tune the next beacon. Yeah, look, this is... I've not quite got the angle correct. We've gone about 94 degrees. So it's gone a very slightly shallower angle, look, into the VOR. It's not an exact science doing radio navigation. So we're getting some ice forming on the windows, which is not ideal. Oh dear. So have we got, we haven't got window heaters, have we? Windshield Nessa anti-icer. Power on. So the Nessa system is over here. Did it? See, we didn't start the aeroplane up, so yeah, it's on. That is not obvious if off is up or down, is it? I'm guessing down is on. Just looking at the other switches around the cockpit. It's not thawing out in a hurry, is it? So do we get leading edge lights to show the ice? And do we even get ice build up on the fuselage?
Caution, windshield icing.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. I think we'll descend for a bit. So we can leave the it's got a little icicle on the nose. That's quite funny, isn't it? So if we come back down to 15,000 feet, that should prevent that from happening, hopefully. Although the de-icing does seem to be working. It's probably just because we flew through some cloud that was of the right density to cause it. So we're down to 19,500 feet. If we just drop down to say 18,000. There's some spectacular weather though, isn't it? So we are tracking this on Volanta at the same time that we're doing it, so we can see in 3 dimensions where we are, and we can pull up the satellite. Very cool. How are we doing on the map? About 60 miles. Let's just measure it. 50 miles, sorry, until we get to the next VOR. So I'm going to go and make a quick coffee while we're en route. And I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, I'm back. Scenery's starting to get interesting, isn't it? So, what altitude are we down to? Just coming down to 16,000, that'll do. So this is coming on its own. That looks pretty spectacular out there, doesn't it? So, just reading the live stream chat that's going on about the management of the engines, I've left this in the hands of the automatic pilot. So he has some basic modes of operation. So when we're in cruise, I'm surprised he's running the RPM so high, to be honest. I would have been keeping it in the yellow area. So I have got some notes on it, and if I just pull them up, yeah, I would have been, for cruise, I would have been targeting about 1800 RPM. So way back over here. And 34 inches manifold pressure. So he's running it a lot higher than I would have. So we could take it back out of his hands, but the problem we've got, and I've done this when I was playing around with it when I first learned the aeroplane, is, as I said earlier, we can't manipulate these switches fast enough to react, whereas the automated system can. So you've got the oil cooler flap positions and the cowl flap positions, and you're using them to regulate the temperature of the oil and the cylinders. But it's in combination with, you know, you set your RPM and your manifold pressure to suit, and then you use the flaps to control the temperature of the cylinders and the oil. It's an interesting one. But I'm letting the automated engineer do it in this situation, and I don't entirely trust what he's doing, but there we go. In computers we trust. Yeah, the weather is starting to clear at last, which is good. If we look behind us, it was pretty wicked, wasn't it? So how are we doing on navigation? 17 miles until the VOR. And ticking down. So when we get there, let's leave this on a nice pretty view while we're monkeying around with it. We'll turn left 52 degrees. So as I mentioned earlier, another way of doing this, if you know what you're doing, which, you know, I barely know with this aeroplane, you could go back to turn the flight path control off. So you're back using the gyro pilot now. You can guesstimate when you get down to the right distance, and you could say, okay, we want the 52 degree radial on the way out of here. So we could do this already. It's going to be somewhere there-ish. 52 degrees. So then you go and compare and make sure that the directional gyro agrees with the binnacle. You can cheat in the sim by pressing D. See, it drifted slightly. And then we can use the gyro pilot to make a left turn, but we can wait until the needle comes in. So we know we are flying at nearly 100 degrees. So we're flying that direction, and we need to turn to match this. Now obviously if we leave it too late we won't turn in time. We've got 10 miles to go. So when we've got about, say, 3 or 4 miles left, we can start turning the gyro pilot to get the aeroplane to turn. And the art is in getting it onto the radial at the same time as you cross over the radial, if that makes sense. But that requires knowledge and experience of the aeroplane, which we don't have. So we're wanting to turn left to 51 degrees, so there. Yeah. Double goal, 52 degrees. Yeah, so the gyro pilot's just keeping the wings level on the direction we were going, and we're heading in towards the VOR. So if we start this turning now, and you'll see the compass will start to rotate slowly if we go a bit harder. The aeroplane is turning. Remember, all we really need is an intercept angle, but you'll notice, obviously, because we're cutting inside the corner, we can stop turning. We've still got about 15 degrees or so of angle there. Yeah, and we're just cutting across, but because we're not going to fly straight over the beacon, we won't lose the signal either. So this will go, it's off to one side obviously, but then it will flick to a from signal when we're adjacent to it. So if we watch that happen, in the next few seconds as we fly over, you'll see the arrow go from one side to the other. There it goes. So we've just gone past the beacon. So we could make this a more shallow intercept angle if we just let the aeroplane very gently turn left. Remember, it takes a while to start turning. So watch the compass start turning. We're wanting to go for 50 degrees, remember. So we're still about 12 degrees-ish beyond, maybe 10 now. Oh no, so 15 I mean. Now we're about 15 or 12 maybe, 10 degrees. So if we were to level up, we're on about a 10 degree intercept angle now of the radial. So when this comes in, we're to the left of the line at the moment. So this is a pretty good diagram actually of what's going on. We're here going this direction, there's the line. When this sweeps in, it represents us going over the top of the line. So at that point we need to be going the same direction as the omni-bearing selector to be going straight towards the next beacon. To follow the course that we had planned. But it kind of pays not to do it right over the station. Here it comes, look. So if we start turning, it pays not to do it right over the station, because over the station a tiny amount of difference will cause the needle to move a lot, whereas the further away you get, the less the needle moves, because of parallax and, you know, the shape of the angle, or the shape of the triangle I should say, is a narrower triangle. So we'll just hold that angle for a while, wait for the needle to come in. Obviously if we wanted to now, we could just say, okay, go to localizer mode, and the aeroplane is actually going to steer right and then left. It's chasing the needle instead of just waiting for it. So you can actually see that represented here, look. We were quite happily just narrowing down very slowly. We would probably have crossed over the line down here somewhere, but the autopilot has actually steered gently right to bring us back onto the, or whatever the omni-bearing selector says. So the omni-bearing selector says about 52 degrees. So you can see it's narrowing down onto it. So that's showing, notice the numbers going up now on the distance measuring equipment. So we're on the radial from the beacon. So we could switch frequencies, but before we do that, it would be an idea to go back to gyropilot, which is just going to fly straight and level. So the gyropilot will keep us flying in that direction, and then we'll change to 11590. And then you can figure out, okay, what's the direction to go straight to it, and it's that direction, and then go flight path back on, and we can count down 70 miles until the next beacon. Yeah, so we're slightly off to one side, but you can see even with a crosswind, we've got a 20 knot crosswind. So the plane is automatically crabbing into the crosswind to fly the B line, if you want to call it that, straight into the VOR. It's an interesting story there, no one's heard it, about the origin of the term B line, that it had actually been forgotten of where it came from. Has anybody heard the story about the B line? It was rediscovered in recent years. A researcher added beacon, or how would you put it, markers to the back of bees, honeybees, so they could track their flight path across the fields. And obviously then they got radar and tracked the movement of the honeybees. And they discovered that in a crosswind, honeybees were flying a straight line in a crosswind to gardens that they were harvesting pollen from over the course of several miles. So they were flying from the hive, flying out across the fields to wherever they were getting the pollen from, and then flying straight back. But they were flying a straight line even with crosswinds, and they still don't really know how they do it. But that's where the term had originally come from, about making a beeline for something. So people had obviously noticed, you know, in the past, that bees don't fly they don't fly, although they might bobble around, you know, over the course of a few feet. If you look at the direction they take over a distance, they actually keep a remarkably straight line to the destination they're aiming to get to. And they are able to account somehow for crosswinds. Yeah, it was a remarkable piece of research showing, you know, the track of the bees flying out across the fields and coming back again. There's no messing around navigating by landmarks or anything. It was just a straight line from A to B. And how they communicate as well, because yeah, one of them goes back to the hive, communicates where the location of the pollen is, and then others go out and start harvesting it as well. It's amazing. So AJ Ferrari, things I learned from Jonathan Beckett's streams. Yeah, I know that the bees dance is some form of communication. I don't think we understand it fully. I think lots of people have spent far too much time probably trying to interpret their dances. Oh hello, the sim's just frozen. So here, let's see what it does with the controls when it wakes up. I think everything looks okay. 54 miles to run into the next beacon. So we are back over India because the Indian, or Bangladesh is kind of this bit here, look, but this is India all the way through here and then all the way around here and back down almost to the coast. So then you've got Bhutan up there. It's interesting, isn't it? The amount you learn about geography on the simulator is crazy. Right, so let's have a look outside. Oh, famous last words. Let's look outside. Completely clouded in again. We should come out of this fairly soon now. Yeah, there we go. Let's have a look at the fuel tanks while I think of it. Left wing has got a lot. Right wing has got a lot. Yeah, we've not got any problems with fuel. So this is the selector of where you choose which tank you're getting the fuel from. So then we've got mixture here, obviously, so we're at altitude, so it's been leaned out. Almost, that's leaned out a lot, isn't it? Supercharger. I think auto rich is good up to 10,000 feet and then you lean it out beyond that. I'm just paranoid now looking around at the various instruments. So you've got some doubles of what the engineer has got for the pilot and co-pilot to refer to. "39 miles to run." The aeroplane's looking fine. So that comment in the live stream comments about so many levers and things, it's not actually so bad once you realise it's just that it's got 4 engines. And a lot of the things that are automatic in a modern engine are not in this, so you have to control them manually. But I think there's some fascination in that, of being able to control things. The problem with this aeroplane is because the developers made some bad decisions around not letting you map the opening and closing of these to buttons, to the same button doing, like, you know, opening or closing, because you have to hold these on. If I show you what I mean. So if you watch the cowl flap here and we go and open the cowl flap for engine number 1, you can see the needle moving up there, or we can... Is the engineer going to fix that for us, by the way? Or do I have to put it back? I think I have to put it back. So you can only do them one at a time, and it takes time to do it. Therefore, you can't keep up with the aeroplane. So if you're in an emergency to lower the temperature of the engines, for example, you haven't got many ways of doing it, or to warm the engines up even. You know, to put a carburetor heat through or something. So yeah, there's quite a lot of workload, but it all makes sense though. You know, like I said, you've got mixtures. You've got the superchargers, you've got the throttles, you've got opening the flaps to cool the engines down, or if you want to warm them up, you just close the flaps, for example. You've got the RPM, you've got the power. Power and RPM are two separate things, which is why you have manifold pressures in play as well. Obviously, the more torque you're putting through the engine, and oil pressures and everything else will react to that. But yeah, it's good fun. And the levers between the pilot and the co-pilot are fairly straightforward. So you can see if I wiggle the throttles. It's a good point actually. If I, yeah, the flight engineer is correcting them again afterwards. So the orange ones are the reversers. They only come into play once these hit the stops at the back, and then you can reverse pitch. So I'm trying to remember what these do. This is the propeller pitch, which basically is controlling the propeller RPM. So to speed the propellers up, you reduce the pitch, which means they're not grabbing as much air, so they can spin faster. So when you increase the RPM of the propellers, well, yeah, you're really just reducing the pitch. If you let the propellers grab more air, so you slow the RPM down, the manifold pressure will go up because it's having to use more power, or more torque is required, I should say, to spin the blades that are catching more air. So there's a whole balancing act. So you say only one RPM lever. Yeah, that's like the master one here. But then you come over here and yes, that's a good point actually. Do we not get the 4 RPMs individually? We get, yeah, instead of RPM you get propeller pitch. But it's done across all 4 propellers at once, yeah. There's an interesting little book here. Let me move the camera. Which shows you the configuration diagrams for how to feed different tanks and things like that. And you can go through this. This book has got various pages. So there's a menu page, your consumption of liquids, fuel use procedures. It's cool, isn't it? Until tanks 2 and 3 are empty. They're obviously not empty yet, so it's still doing that. So it shows you what plan it's using. I wonder what this is for. I'll have to look it up in the book. So 10 miles to run, so we can start thinking about the next one. Now the next one's a good one, look, because we don't get within range of it straight away, so we do have to fly a from radial out of here, So what we'll do is what we did last time. We'll switch this back to gyropilot, so we're just on wing leveling now. And we'll change the radial to 78 degrees on the omni-bearing selector. So 60, 70, 8 is probably about there. So what it's saying at the moment is then the 78 degree radial is to the left of us, which it is. It's over here, look. So if we were to draw it on, like sketch it in, it's over there somewhere. If we've got an 81 degree radial, but anyway, you get the idea. It's to the left of us. So as we get closer, that needle will fall in and we turn right. Sorry, we turn right to get to 78 degrees, was it? 78, yeah. So we're travelling at 60 degrees at the moment, but we need to turn from 60 to 78. But there's no point doing it until we're a bit closer. And then we'll fly out of here for 63 miles. And at that point we should be able to pick up the next VOR. So if we start turning gently in a moment. So remember, we've turned off the coupling for the autopilot to chase nav1. So if we just start the airplane turning gently. So it's got to turn, it's at 60 degrees at the moment. It's got to get to 78. We may have gone a little bit early, so we can level it up. We're doing it. We've lost that glitch then at the same time, but we lost the signal. We were over the top of the VOR, and we've got it back. Look, we're on the from signal now. So what we'll do is go on an intercept course now. We're now at about 81 degrees-ish, which is a bit more than we need. We'll go a bit more than that. So let's go back to say 85. So we're just waiting for the airplane to turn. And stop it turning. And you can see the course is coming in. Part of that is a function of us getting further and further away. We're almost 6 miles away already. So this will naturally fall in the further we are away. But we're also on a very slight intercept course. So if we look on the map, we'll see that happening, look. In fact, we're not, look, because of that crosswind, we're just holding a parallel track at the moment. So we'd have to turn in even further. Or, now we're a little way away from it, we can just go back to localizer. And the airplane will turn right even more of its own accord to go and bring that needle into the middle. So the aeroplane itself, look, is fighting this crosswind that's pushing us away from the radial. So the aeroplane's turning into it to try and get back to the radial. It's not doing it in a huge hurry because we're so far away from the beacon. Well, sorry, from this one, isn't it? We're doing a from radial, but yeah, you can see it doesn't do it. Autopilots never chase it too hard. They're quite slow responding. So as long as they can see that the gap is narrowing, they'll usually be fine. Otherwise they end up fishtailing all over the place trying to chase the needle. And you can see, based on the omni-bearing selector that we chose, so 70 What have we got? 70. Yeah, we haven't got 79. Look, we've got about 78 and a bit, maybe. So if we went 79, it will turn right a bit more. So if we were to tune into this one now, 1570, it's too far away at the moment. So we'll just stay on this radial from this one until we're about 60 miles out, and then try looking for the other one. So let's just check our altitude that we ended up at. We're about 16,000 feet, just under, that's fine. So, Nev is saying, I've finally finished my trip around the world in the Cessna 414 Chancellor with a flight from Inverness to Halfpenny Green. My word. 117 hours that takes some doing. You know, given the speed of this aeroplane, I think we may call it a day for this evening at Nampong. I wonder what the weather's doing there, though. Or maybe, what's this airfield here? Pamti. So, the weather here, there's no weather readout for it, which is useful. Let's go and see if we've got anything on Navigraph. So we're on our way to this VOR station. No METAR. Oh, great. But we have got satellite weather, and it's fairly clear around it. But we're going to have to go through some horrible weather on the way. What does the world map look like? I presume it just gives you place names. Yeah. So, yeah, there is a clearing here though, we could try it. Although, let's see what the weather's like at ground level over here. So if we pull this down, so at 15,000 feet it's okay, and 2,000 feet is fine. Okay, maybe we can do it. What's the actual altitude of the airfield? 7,000 feet. Should be okay. Okay, our aeroplane has disappeared off the map. There we are. certainly chosen the weather for it today, haven't I? It might be an idea actually to try and land somewhere that's got ILS. Do we need to... I don't know that anywhere around here has. We might have to fly... Oh crikey, I didn't even look for that. If we carried on further into China maybe, then we can pick up ILS. Yeah, that might be the thing to do then. We've got ILS at, what's it called? Shanyi. And it's in a valley, so that's going to make it quite an adventure. How high are these hills? So the bottom of the valley is 2,400 meters. The top of the hills, that's 3,200 meters. So about getting over 1,000 meters deep, which is 3,000 feet. So it's not that steep. So if we were to fly out to that VOR at Shanyi and then bring it in there for the end of, for today at least. Or do we just carry on? How does this work with GPS then? Can we program GPS into it? So I've not got... If I just say GTN 650, what's that? Where's it going to put it? Oh, look at this. Oh my word. This is cheating, isn't it? I haven't got the 750 installed at the moment, though. And yeah, you would need... Oh, that's a shame. That means I can't have any GPS. Damn. It would have just lowered our workload, wouldn't it? Oh well. We're VORing it for the foreseeable future. Or at least I don't think I've got it installed. Let's go and have a look. So if I say GTN 750, that puts it on this panel up here. Yeah, it's not booting up, is it? Good to know though. I have no doubt that some of the final constellation that exists, there's only one left flying, isn't there? I bet they've got a Garmin 530 in it. Seems to be very common with historic aircraft. So, we are getting towards the area where we can pick up the VOR, so 11570. So we'll go and switch this to wing leveling. We'll change the frequency, 11570, and have we picked it up yet? We've got no distance measuring equipment yet, but we'll be expecting to pick it up on the 78-degree radial, which is what we're on the omni-bearing selector. So you'll suddenly see the white triangle turn up and the needle move, I would imagine, and the distance measuring light up. So we'll just keep half an eye on them for the next few minutes. We're right on the borders of its range. keep an eye on the nav instrument and the DME. Just go and double check that frequency again. 11570. 11570. Outside while we're trundling along. So at the moment we're just in wing leveling, we're flying along in a straight line. Ah, we have company. Who's this then? Dog breath. And what was they flying? An F-35. Which we see as per usual in the sim, because I've got the models turned off and I haven't got any aeroplanes installed at the moment. We see it as a random replacement. So we've still not got any VOR showing up. We should do any moment now. There it goes. So we just tune that in to fly straight towards it, lock onto it, and we're good to go. So I'm going to go and stretch my legs and leave this showing the scenery scrolling past. I will put this at the top of the screen, so I'll go and put it on minimal window layout so you can see where we are. And I'll make the taskbar hide itself. And I'm going to go and have a wander around the house just to stretch my legs for a bit, because I've been sat here for far too long. Okay, I'm back. Gonna have a look, see what's going on with the airplane. Everything's good. So we've got 97 miles to run into the next VOR. We're looking to get to San Yi, I guess, today. Oh, we could carry on to Chengdu, couldn't we? It's not going to be that far. He says, famous last words. The final leg being 180 miles. So what can we find out about some of these places? So we are heading towards Myitkyina. In Burmese, Myitkyina means near the big river. It's on the west bank of the Ayeyawadi River, just below 40 kilometers from Myitson. So Myitkyina has been an important trading town between China and Myanmar since ancient times. American Baptist missionary George J. Geiss and his wife arrived in Myitkyina in the late 1890s, and in 1900 they requested permission to build a mansion in the town. Just checking the volumes. Japanese forces captured the town and nearby airbase during World War II in 1942. In August 1944, Myitkyina was recaptured by the Allied forces under General Joseph Stilwell after a prolonged siege and heavy fighting between the nationalist Chinese divisions, the Chindits, and the Merrill's Marauders of the Northern Combat Area Command, and the besieged elements of the 33rd Imperial Japanese Army under General Masaki Honda. The town was strategically important not only because of its rail and water links to the rest of Burma, but also because it was on the planned route of the Ledo Road, or Ledo Road. To unpin that message, don't I? Unpin. There we go. It's incredible scenery around here, isn't it? So if we have a look at the map and make it bigger, this is showing Google Terrain View at the moment. So the landscape will get more and more harsh the further we get in until we finally clear it and have the final run in to Chengdu. If we get that far. Like I said, what we could do this evening is call it at Sanyi, but we'll wait and see how the weather's doing and how we feel. So fingers crossed it won't be too bad. Though, look at this weather in front of us. It may be we have to carry on to somewhere that has ILS. Or, you know, fly over the top of all of the weather and hope we find something better on the other side of it. Let's have a little look at this aeroplane then. Looks the part, doesn't it? Go inside out of the noise for a bit. Gaze out the window. I wonder if we can open this while it's in flight. See, it's not very well simulated, is it? There should be a howling gale if we did that. And possibly a loss of consciousness. Okay, so how are we doing on 67 miles to run? This weather up in front is quite frightening, isn't it? Right, I'm going to cut the microphone off for a bit. I'll leave it on the outside view while I go and stretch my legs again. This is quite not the most interesting part of the journey, is it? Flying across clouds and flying these long legs. I run out of things to talk about as well. Back in a few minutes. Okay, we're back. Let's have a look and see how we are doing against the plan. So 18 miles to run into the VOR. Let's get this up on the screen. So the next VOR, if we show information for Lijiang, is 11370, 130 mile range again. So let's go and extend that. So add range rings for 130 miles around it. So we need to stay on this VOR for a little while. So 63 degrees we're looking for on the omni-bearing selector. So if we do this, you'll notice the aeroplane turn right. And that's because it's going out to try and grab the 63 degree radial. Be interesting to see what it does in terms of an intercept angle. Usually it's about anywhere between 30 and 45 degrees for most aeroplanes. So if you measure that into there, so it wants to be for about there, measure distance. So it's flying in towards the direction. Got it slightly wrong still. So if we remove that measurement and go from, say, that measure, that's better. So the aeroplane will start turning left again in a moment. Because it's trying to get onto the 63 degree radial while we're still heading towards the VOR. So watch the attitude. It's starting to bank left, look, and here comes the needle. Okay. So this time, obviously it will probably be stabilised by the time we get there. We've still got 8 miles to run. We'll leave it on as we fly over the... We'll leave it on localizer mode as we fly over the top of the VOR. It'd be interesting to see what happens. I think the sim's just frozen, by the way. Yeah, it has. There we go, look, it just woke up again. Again, it was a USB issue. I will be glad to get a shot of this PC for that very reason. So we're about to go over the top of the VOR, so you'll notice the... Yeah, look at the airplane waving around, trying to chase the needle, and now it's lost the signal, so what's it going to do? It should pick it up any moment. And it'll be a from signal, there it goes. So the airplane's going to try and turn left, look. But it's ridiculous, it should have just held on. going in a straight line, because now it's going to flail around. It's done a pretty good job though, actually. Okay, so we'll let it carry on then. So there, notice what it did there. Look, it started to lose the plot as it got near the VOR, which is why it pays not to leave it on tracking the VOR when you're too close to them. So we need to get, if we measure the distance alongside the track, about 50 miles along the track, and then we'll be on our way to Lijiang. So we haven't crossed the border into China yet. We're still over Myanmar, or Burma as it used to be called. So we'll cross over in about another 100 miles from where we measured our distance a moment ago. So just commenting on the comment in the live stream, we're being asked, speaking of VOR navigation, in modern day, would you prefer navigating like this or would you install a 530? I think if you look inside any historic aeroplanes, they've got modern GPS equipment these days. There's no reason not to use GPS. VOR is interesting from an academic standpoint. VOR stations are being decommissioned very quickly. There's lots and lots of them have gone. There used to be many more than there are left around. So yeah. Just got stuck in the middle of the cockpit. That was clever. So yeah, you look in any historic airliner, they've always got a GPS kit retrofitted. Even if they're not using it with it, you know, coupled to the controls, they'll have it for navigation purposes. Like, you know, just like looking at your GPS in your car. The amount of information on a modern GPS is just, you know, a whole different level. So these are the mountains that we were talking about that were going to be fun. So we're coming in towards the next VOR station, 11370. So yeah, from an academic point of view, using the VOR stations is fun because, yeah, you just have to think logically in terms of going between them. So we want to go to gyro pilot mode for a while we go and retune the VOR. So we want 11370. We can see, have we got it yet? No, not quite. We haven't quite got there yet. So we're flying blind for a few miles. Which is fine. Get to look at this wonderful scenery that we're passing over. Having said that, look, it's not loading it in places. You can see the difference between when it has it and when it doesn't have it. So hopefully this is not going to be the story for China. Have China not shared their data with the world? Is that what's going on? It looks okay out over there. Maybe it's just key places don't have accurate data, because those mountains all look pretty good. It's just this area here. That's going to be a real shame though if... I wonder what's here then. Why? Although this isn't... we're not over China yet. We're just in the mountains of the border of Myanmar and China. Or Myanmar. So we've got another 40 miles to go until we're in China. So this part of Myanmar looks like it just doesn't have data. Shame, isn't it, when that happens? Flying over secret ICBM. I'm not sure that Myanmar has them, to be honest, but there you go. So we should pick up the VOR soon, Lijiang. So the reason for going this route and not going down towards the islands to go island hopping is to include America. So I thought if we go Japan, a little bit of Russia, then jump across and then find our way into Alaska, then down through British Columbia to include some of the Canadian cities, and then across the plains and some of the Great Lakes in the US. Maybe cut back into Canada for Toronto, and then we get to go, yeah, across like Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and then jump up to Greenland. Or maybe we go Nova Scotia and then straight up to Labrador, yeah. Up to Greenland, over to Iceland, and back down to the UK. That's obviously a long way away yet. So we should have picked up the VOR, and we have 125 miles ticking down now. So we'll just tighten up the OBS on it and then flick back to localizer mode, and we're good to go. So you can probably see a line where the scenery starts to be included again. It's there, look. So does that correspond with a border? I don't think it does. I think it's just a patch of untextured ground. So Mishka is saying it has to be 21,600 nautical miles to count as a circumnavigation. So we might have to detour then at some point. Just looking down to see where that... So we're just crossing now. Yeah, it's just a random patch. It doesn't correspond with a border or anything. So I'll put the, if I move this up slightly, which way around should we do this? This way. We can see all the data this way. So close that window, put this up in the corner so we can see how close we are getting to the next waypoint, and I'll be back in a bit. Okay, let's see how we're doing. 70 miles to run to the VOR, and we probably need to start making some plans about how we're going to approach the runway. Does Navigraph give us anything on this place? Probably not. So it's got an airfield there. It's actually got the stars though, and it's got the approaches. Excellent. So which way is the wind? Wind's coming from the... that's the wind where we are. Let's go and have a look down in the valley. 30 degrees, 1 knot. Okay, so runway 02. So we probably want to be doing a right turn flying out this way. These feathers are a lot longer than normal. So there's a distance 20 miles out, 15 miles out. LittleNavMap only ever draws them out to about 8 miles. So we're really aiming from where we are at the moment to coming over here. But if we were to aim there, then we get room to descend in the valley. So we want to turn 95 degrees magnetic. Okay. So what we'll do then is come off the gyropilot. Going to turn right to 95 degrees magnetic. And start looking at places in which we can descend. Let's make sure the sound's coming through okay. Yeah, it's looking good. And we can go and tune in the ILS. 108.5. 18 degrees. So we can do this immediately. So 18 degrees, which is going to be about there maybe. And was it 108.5? Let's just double check. Yes, it was 108.5. So nav 1. .5. Obviously we'll have no signal yet, but that's fine. So then we just need to start looking. Let's get rid of this out of view of the moment. And we'll pin that, by the way. So 02 ILS. Yeah, just what I wanted to have a look at was, this is better in the relief view actually in Google. So we've got these hills we're crossing over at the moment. Then there'll be a river valley, then the next ridge, and then we turn in. It's a shame. Have we got a nav 2? Oh, we can do it here, can't we? Yeah. So 11370. If we put that into nav 2, so that's ADF. I'm guessing It's going to be that one, isn't it? Can we rotate this? I'm not sure that we can. There's no non-directional beacons over there, is there? No. It's just looking for where we can start descending, so we can probably come down a few thousand feet. I wonder if that's further than we're actually going. Just trying to get some bearings on these hills, or some appreciation of which valley's which. I wonder if that one, so let's just count the ridge lines. So we've got valley, 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 valley. So the hills we can see over there are probably these. Or are they? Because this could be the closest one. Are we counting valley, valley, valley? So we're looking for 1, 2, 3. It's over the other side of that, isn't it? Probably. So what we're looking to do is just shortcut this and come into Sanyi instead of going all the way up to Chengdu, because it's getting late. And I think the weather might be atrocious at the other end, so we're flying a bearing to then get into the valley to descend in and do the ILS. So we'll stay at altitude for the moment until we've confirmed exactly which valley we're turning into. There's some amazing mountains out there, look. Shame there's these areas where there's no data here and there. Yeah, so this is looking more and more like we have to cross this ridge and then we turn and start descending. So at the moment we're at 16,500 feet and we'll be looking to descend. Well, they're saying that. Has this been calibrated? No, it hasn't. 2992. So that's probably about more like it. We're at 17,000 feet. Okay, so we can see a flat area up there. That's probably the airfield, isn't it? I would imagine. Or it's certainly the city and the airfield's the other side of it. But we'll continue on with our plan to get over the valley before we start descending. Although it looks like we could shortcut it straight through there though, doesn't it? But then it depends on how quickly we can come down. It's such a shame that these textures aren't here. So if you ever wondered, this is what happens if you turn the data off. So obviously where there are stripes of scenery with no texture data, that's what it looks like. Okay, let's go and turn this in towards the airfield.
Roger.
B47 checklist. Autopilot servo disconnected levers. Ordnance lights.
Set.
Altimeter set.
Set.
Engine superchargers. Low. Fuel pumps.
1, 2, 3, 4, high.
Fuel tank selector.
1, 2 alpha, 3 alpha, 4, on and confirmed.
Tank 5 and fuel crossfeed levers.
Closed.
Cabin pressure.
Cabin pressure confirmed for landing.
Landing weight.
Landing weight checked.
B47 checklist completed.
So we need to turn towards the airfield. So on here, yeah, we're showing up on the map already. So we're about 18 miles out. So we should be at 12,000 feet. We're a bit high, aren't we? But we're coming down fairly quick. So we're at 15,000 at the moment. So what we might have to do is circle to lose height on the way in. Having said that, if we continue to descend at this rate, we'll be fine. We can see the ILS beam now. We've already picked it up. Don't think this has spoilers. So there's the runway. Yeah, we'll have to do an orbit. Because there's no way we'll slow down. Let's go and turn head tracking on so we can look around easily. So there's the runway. Let's go manual. So autopilot disengaged and off. So the autopilot's last act was to give me a boot full of aileron trim, which I'm now unwinding. And it's still doing it. In fact, I don't appear to be able to correct it. Or maybe, nah, maybe it is doing it. It just gave me like all of the aileron trim in the world. So the runway's over there. Don't worry about that. Have we got room to turn this way? No, we haven't. So I'm just making room to do an orbit. So there's the airfield. So what we're going to do is fly back up the valley, do a U-turn and come back in again. Descending as we go. Well, that's the plan. At the moment we're not doing that because we've got the nose up to lose some airspeed. So we can do this. Then the idea is we do like a figure eight and we'll continue turning and then turn back around and come in. Extending the flaps to the first position. That is bizarre that the co-pilot or the autopilot has given it a... It's really trimmed the plane out badly and it won't trim back. So at this point I'm going to tell the pilot and the engineer to go away, because I need to control the aeroplane. Right.
Taking the superchargers out.
Good.
Superchargers are out.
Good to know. Okay, so we can see we're roughly on the glide slope. We're a little bit low. So let's just pull this back up. So on the glide slope, we're just on an intercept course, obviously, to bring the localizer in. And here comes the localizer. So we're on the correct approach path.
flaps 80% set. Flaps 100%.
Looks gorgeous, doesn't it? So we've gone a bit high while we were busy gazing at the outside of the aeroplane. So let's go and fix that. Just trying to remember where the lights are. Probably don't have time to do them properly now. There they were. Chances of me being able to click those though at this point are 0 because the click spots are about 2 pixels big.
500 feet. 400. 300. 200. 100. 50. 'Speed down.
So I don't think there's anywhere. Is there a taxiway here? I don't think there is there? Oh no, there is. We just need to carry on down.
Roger, flaps up.
So do we need to tell the engineer then?
After landing checklist. Call flaps.
Set.
Flaps up. off. Chokes on. Ordnance lights.
Set.
Stairs. Checked.
We have stairs.
Doors.
Open.
Pins. On. On-parking checklist completed.
Okay.
Ordnance lights.
Off.
So there's the Super Constellation landed at. Now let me get the name of the airfield right. So Sanyi we've come into. And our next flight, I guess, will carry on across China. Well, that's quite a long flight to do with a propeller plane. So we may use, knowing that the scenery is so dodgy across China, we may use a jet plane to fly out across, perhaps towards Japan. In one big leg. And just use, I don't know, what's that, about going on for 2,000 miles maybe? We'll pick a 777 or something, unless we go via Taiwan maybe, and then we could go island hopping. That might be a better way to do it actually. So jump across to Taiwan. Or, as everybody else has already mentioned, instead of going across the north route, go equator route and go down, yeah, maybe we do cut down through the Philippines. So go via Taiwan, then travel south through the Philippines, Papua New Guinea, coast of Australia, and then off across the islands. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed that. So that was a flight in the Constellation. I'll put the blog post out with the details about this flight in it, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. So take care. Thanks for watching. I'm signing off.